me move this down. I'm sitting down today because I guess it's that kind of day. So welcome to Teaching Tip Tuesday. My name is Michelle, aka the Ignited Teacher. And what I do on Teaching Tip Tuesday is I help you to close math learning gaps by providing you with research-based and effective math strategies that can be implemented in your classroom as early as the very next day. So, welcome to Teaching Tip Tuesday. For those of you all who are new here, thank you for chiming in today or this evening. I know it's hard to catch me live. For those of you all who are not new, thank you for being a part of my community, whether you watch me live or you watch me on the replay. Thank you. So it's been a rough year, to say the least, but guess what? We're still here, alive and kicking. At least for today, we're here, so we're thankful about that. So tonight's Teaching Tip Tuesday is about math strategies. You know, in my math intervention group, I get a whole bunch of requests, and I have this question about what are you looking for to get from this group? And a lot of people say strategies or whatnot, which is fine. It's a bigger picture, but you know, that's a starting point. So tonight's Teaching Tip Tuesday is about not pinpointing specific strategies, but what an effective strategy looks like. And before I forget, if you cannot catch me and catch this Teacher Tip Tuesday live, you can catch it on the replay where I house all of my Teaching Tip Tuesday videos on YouTube. Under the Ignited Teacher, I'm the only one for right now that's on YouTube. And since you're live, you can go ahead and hop on over there, like this video or this live stream, because it'll be a video come tomorrow, and subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to hit the bell notification button so that you'll know when I go live or when I upload videos or YouTube shorts. I uploaded a YouTube short just, I think today, talking about how to show zero pairs. That's an issue with secondary. So that's one of the things that I did today. And you have to click that bell notification button so that you can see, you know, when I go live, and you get a notification from YouTube. So without further ado, I'm going to start with tonight's Teaching Tip Tuesday. So if you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, in the chat section, I put the blog post that I'm going to be talking about tonight on there in the chat on YouTube, and in the comment section on Facebook. So when we're talking about strategies and what strategies work for students, the strategies are not, it's not really about the strategy per se. It's about what does an effective strategy look like. And to be honest with you, the first thing that a strategy has to start with is the data. And on my last live stream, I showed this same screen. We talked about what is universal screening. And you cannot start without screening your students. And I know people's like, we do enough testing. But here's the thing. If you go to the doctor, doesn't the doctor test you? If you go to the eye doctor, they test your eyes. They run multiple tests to see what's happening because you can't diagnose something without testing it first to rule out other things. So that's the same thing that we do with education. And it's not supposed to be labor intensive. I've always had an issue with giving standardized tests at the end of the beginning of the year to test children. It just seems like a waste of time. But I know that Renaissance has come out with some screeners and some other programs. I know Easy CBM, they have a screener. It's supposed to be just something general, not labor intensive for the children. So the universal screener is the first step in the process of strategies. It has to start with data, because if you don't know what the children are struggling with, you can't find a strategy that matches what they're struggling with. And in some of my blog posts, I talk about the what and the why. And the what and the why are qualitative and quantitative data. Quantitative data tells us what, because it's just numbers. What are kids that they're struggling with this standard? They're struggling with this TEAC. They're struggling with this. But qualitative data, the anecdotal notes, what you observe, what you see in class every day, is what is the why they're struggling. And those are the things that we don't talk about. And it's not something that is captured in quantitative data, which are numbers. So when we're talking about finding strategies, we have to find strategies that actually deal with the what and the why. It can't deal with one and not deal with the other. Because if you have an attendance issue, giving them more tutorials is not going to help, because they're not there to actually attend the tutorial. So that's why we say the what and the why work together. So on my blog, I have this blog post, and it's called 3 Characteristics of an Effective Math Strategy. And on the blog post, it starts with supporting the vertical alignment. And I think there's a blog post on my blog, if I'm not mistaken, where I talk about the Busy Teacher's Guide for understanding the vertical alignment. I think, or curriculum alignment, I think it is. But when I say it supports the vertical alignment, I'm saying that if you choose a strategy, it doesn't follow those 13 rules that expire, meaning that it only works for that grade level. It has to be something that fits and supports the vertical alignment. For example, if we'll talk about 3rd through 5th grade band. So there's a fraction, decimal, and whole number strand that runs from 3rd grade to 5th grade that is supported, and connect. So we'll say in 3rd grade for fractions, they do benchmark fractions, and then they put them on a number line, and then they do part to whole. So when they go to, and they do equivalent fractions, but equivalent fractions as it pertains to those benchmark, real common fractions, 1/2, 3/4, stuff like that. So then you go to 4th grade. 4th grade takes it up a notch. It takes the 3rd grade, which is the prerequisite skill, and then you're adding on that prerequisite skill. You have equivalent fractions, which you have to simplify fractions and generate equivalent fractions. But now you have fractions and you have decimals. Okay, so all of those are starting to run hand in hand. So then in 5th grade, they take these fractions, decimals, simplifying fractions. Then you have to multiply and divide fractions and decimals. So that's the vertical alignment. If you choose a strategy, let's talk about an ineffective strategy. Your butterfly method, cross multiplication for comparing fractions. It does not support the vertical alignment. It doesn't, not in the fraction strand. But you might say, well, the kids do understand it. If you use something at like a model to compare fractions and really get the kids to understand the role of the numerator and denominator, which the role of denominator is a blog topic on my blog at fuelgreatminds.com, this website. If they understand the role of the denominator, it makes comparing fractions a lot easier. So that's an ineffective strategy. Cross multiplication will not work for fourth and fifth grade. It's one of the rules that expires once the child leaves third grade. It doesn't work because in fourth grade, you start comparing 3, 4 fractions. And then in fifth grade, you're adding fractions with unequal denominators. And then I have kids trying to compare fractions and do all these other things, and it just doesn't work at all. So that's what I'm talking about, strategies, hence the title, not all strategies work. And the one that works best for your kids is one that supports their vertical alignment when they move from grade level to grade level. They should not say, I shouldn't have to say, which I have said plenty of times to my fifth graders, this is fifth grade, that worked in fourth grade, it will not work in fifth grade. I have said that more oftentimes than I care to actually admit. So when I'm looking at these strategies, I know that it also has to connect math concepts. That's the second characteristic and what works for students. They have to connect. For example, when we're talking about converting fractions greater than one whole, some people want to say, oh, it's not improper fractions. Okay, whatever you want to call it. For fractions greater than one whole, fractions, improper fraction, whatever you want to call it. If you teach children how to decompose fractions, start with number bonds, which number bonds are used for whole numbers. But you can also use them for fractions. If you use number bonds to teach kids how to decompose those fractions, it connects with what they learned with whole numbers, which strengthens that actual skill, which also helps with identifying 5/5. And a lot of kids don't know that one whole means that you have the same numerator and the same denominator. But if you start with decomposing fractions, starting with that tape diagram, then moving into the number bonds, which was abstract, and then take away the number bond, and then the children are doing it by themselves, you can teach them how to convert with subtraction, which is the when you convert a mixed number to an improper fraction. That's all it is. It's decomposing. And those kids become fluid and they can actually look at it and do mental math, where the kids, it builds their self-esteem, and they are so excited about learning these strategies. So that's one thing. So we have the first thing, it supports the vertical alignment. The second thing is it connects math concepts. So if you're making children learn something new without connecting the new to the known, and I think, that actually was a theme of mine one year, connecting the new to the known, the kids will get it. It will be seamless. For example, true statement. I teach Algebra 1. I had taught standard form, moving into point slope form. So what I did is I asked the kids, I was like, okay, put the formula. I said, what do you notice about this formula that we've seen previously? They were like, oh, it has 2 points. Great. So they noticed that it just has a X1 and a Y1. And I asked them, why do you think they don't have a Y2 and an X1? And it was a no-brainer because there's not another point. So the kids like, oh, okay, so they connect. I connect the new to the known so that it won't seem like it's just this new problem, this new strategy. Oh my God, I have to learn it, because kids get overwhelmed when things are totally new. The next one is that your strategy needs to be appropriate for all learners. Do not choose a strategy that only works with kids that are on grade level. If you choose a strategy, it needs to be able to be scaffolded for the kids who don't have procedural fluency, the child that doesn't speak English or is learning English, the child that's in special education. It should work for all those populations. And I'm not saying in its entirety that it's going to work, but it should be able to be chunked enough to where if they don't get it during your tier 1 instruction, which is whole group instruction, you can chunk it so that it is manageable in small group. And you can do it, have them master the strategy during small group. And you can move your other lesson along in whole group. So it needs to be appropriate for all learners. Like I was telling some of the teachers when they talk about kids that struggle, special education students that struggle, they are not going to understand cross multiplication, because it's like, why are we doing this again? And it's not going to stick. My son was a student who struggled with math. Those type of tricks don't work with them because they're trying to get it and they're trying to apply something where they don't have any background knowledge. And that's just the reality of it. And it is sad because the kids can't draw or write anything or really pull from what they may have previously learned. And it's a sad situation for students in the classroom. This actually is a picture from one of my students. She should be out of school or close to it by now. This was 2015. So yeah, she should be out of high school. And she's teaching. I brought a number disc for her because she could not make the jump from whole numbers with base 10 blocks. She was like, no, but that's a 10. I said, it's a 10th in decimal. No, it's a 10. So we were round around. I said, you know what? Don't even worry about it. Miss Williams got something for you. Brought a number disc, and one of the little boys was struggling. And she was like, can I show him how to do it with the number disc? I was like, great, go for it. And that was how I snapped that picture, helping him. She was teaching him what she actually learned with decimals. And it worked. So when I'm saying, when you're talking about strategies, it needs to work for that kid that struggles the most. If you're using 4 or more, raise the score. Because the special ed student, for all they know, you could be talking about a hockey game. You could be talking about soccer. For all they know, you could be talking about the game you saw last night. So those little gimmicks don't work for them and they don't stick. And even for your kids that are on grade level, the next year, they're going to try to apply it or misapply it to decimals. For that rounding rule or that rounding trick does not work for decimals all the time, especially when you're rounding to the nearest thousandth. It does not always work. And then you're talking about mixed numbers. That's a whole other issue. So when you do those things, that is not appropriate for all of your learners. It's just not. Now, let's go ahead and do a recap, which is one of my favorites. Strategies that work for students are strategies that support the vertical alignment. First of all, connect with previous math concepts across the vertical alignment or the horizontal alignment, which is the grade level. And it's appropriate for all your learners. And like I said, I'm not saying that you choose something that, for one group of kids, and it has to be a strategy that actually can be chunked or scaffolded to meet the needs of those other kids when you pull them for tier 2 intervention. You should not be starting over in tier 2 or your small group. Now, I'm not saying you may find out the strategy doesn't work for them. We're dealing with human beings, and sometimes you will find yourself having to do another strategy. But when we talk about doing something different, it does not mean starting over with a new strategy. It means tweaking a strategy that you have, chunking it, making it doable for kids, something different than what you did for your tier 1 kids. And that was the last one. Supporting our learners, and second one was connecting, and the first one was supporting the vertical alignment. So that is what you're looking for when you are actually trying to find a strategy that works for your students. Definitely follow that, and you cannot go wrong. Stay away from the tricks. Don't do the tricks. Don't do 4 or more, raise the score, 5 or less, let it rest. Don't do cross multiplication, because your kids that struggle are not going to understand it. It does not make sense. So, if you need more help with this, you can always get on the wait list for the Math Intervention Academy. The link is in the comment section on YouTube. Let me go ahead. It's in the comment section, and let me go ahead and drop it here. And Intervention Academy. And I'm coming out with something new that addresses this topic. It's going to be my quick fixes for common misconceptions. It's going to be a video library of strategies that you could become a part of. So be looking out for that. That's something that I'm going to offer. And the Math Intervention Academy is for people who need all the things for math intervention. And some people just need strategies. So that's one of the things I'm going to offer. But if you're interested in becoming a member of the Math Intervention Academy, I have 68 wonderful teachers right now in the academy, and we are growing. I'm excited about the growth and looking forward to next calendar year, not school year, next calendar year. So that's all I have for Teaching Tip Tuesday. I hope that you enjoyed this episode of Teaching Tip Tuesday. If you have any comments, leave it in the comment section. If you are on Twitter, definitely tweet to me, and I will tweet right back. The rest of you all can leave a comment in the comment section, and I'll see you all next week for another episode of Teaching Tip Tuesday. Bye-bye.